Most DeFi investors do not lose money in this space because they pick the wrong or they hit the wrong button. They lose because they think passive yield means they can stop paying attention. But look, concentrated liquidity is one of the best examples of where that will get you wrecked. Look, yield farming can be powerful. It can generate real trading fees. But if you don't understand ranges, rebalancing, impermanent loss, execution risk, and that nice looking APR can actually turn into an expensive lesson. And to manage it properly takes a good amount of time. That is why SnuggleFi caught my attention. And it's because SnuggleFi is trying to solve one of the most annoying problems in DeFi. How do you use concentrated liquidity without babysitting your LP positions all day long? And look, everything in the video today is educational only. Please do your own research and manage your own risk. Now, let's take a look at what matters. If you're a normal person, or at least somewhat normal like me, parent, a teacher, a worker, a business owner, father, a mother, or just someone who has a life outside of staring at charts, concentrated liquidity can feel almost impossible to manage properly. You have to watch your range. You have to check if you're still earning fees or if the position is out of range. And then you have to decide when to rebalance. And that is when you have to worry about impermanent loss. You have to think about whether you're earning real yield or just slowly getting converted into the weaker asset, which is what you're doing when providing liquidity. You're a market maker. Hey, welcome to Dad's DeFi Space. I'm Kevin, and I'm so grateful you took a little time out of your day to learn more about crypto, DeFi, and Web3. A quick disclosure before we go any further, nothing here is financial advice. SnuggleFi is also a very young DeFi protocol. I currently have small live test positions using it, and I may have referral links in the description. Add a little more to it. So please treat this video for what it is, a DeFi operator reviewing a new tool that he's very excited about, testing it small with size, explaining the process honestly. So, what is SnuggleFi? SnuggleFi is an automatic concentrated liquidity management protocol. I know that sounds really complicated, but it's really crypto speak to just it's a computer program, a Web3 program that instead of manually creating concentrated liquidity positions, doing all the clicks and management, watching the price range, deciding when to rebalance, compounding your fees, adjusting the position, Snuggle does all this for you. It automates a lot of it so you don't have to. So if you're busy like me, it's a perfect protocol to use. And that's why we started using Cell. That's why we started using Crystal Vaults and so many others, is to try to save our time. So let's talk about it a little bit. You are going to deposit capital into a supporting LP strategy. Now, this means that you are limited in the LPs you can choose to use on SnuggleFi. We'll look at some of them in just a minute. Now, once you set it, the position when in range will earn trading fees, and the automated process and the zero swap rebalancing helps eliminate some of the impermanent loss. Now, at the same time, you can enable compounding, and those earnings can actually be rolled right back into your position. That's actually the simple version of it. But now, look, this does not make it risk free. And honestly, this is the first trap people need to avoid. Automation, whether you're using SnuggleFi, Crystal Vaults, VFAT, it doesn't matter. It never removes risk. Automation just changes how your position is managed. This is where I think SnuggleFi is interesting. It's not just another dashboard showing a big APR number. It's a real idea created by a developer who I know personally, and it's called Zero Swap Rebalancing. And you've heard about it before under a different name on my site, because I do have some YouTube videos showing DeFi investors how to use and implement a snuggle rebalance strategy. And that is the part most people need to understand. Even if you aren't using SnuggleFi, you can still use the Snuggle method of rebalancing and rebalance without swapping. This dev just created a protocol that will manage this for you. Now, Before we talk about zero swap rebalancing, we need to understand the problem. Now, before we talk about rebalancing, we need to understand the problems in place. Excuse me. Concentrated liquidity lets you provide liquidity inside a specific price range. If the price stays inside your range, your capital is more efficient and you can earn more trading fees. That's the good part of the story. But the problem actually happens when your price leaves the range. Let's say you're LPing Bitcoin, or excuse me, ETH and USDC. If ETH is trading around $3,000, you create a range around that price. If ETH pumps hard and leaves your range, your position will become all USDC as it's being converted into the weaker asset. If ETH dumps very hard and leaves your range, the other way, your position may become mostly ETH. That is not automatically bad, but it does mean your position changed and now you have decisions to make. Do you rebalance? Do you widen your range? Do you just wait? Do you compound it? Do you withdraw it? Do you accept asset conversion? Do you actually want to hold the two assets within that liquidity pool? This is where people get hurt because they don't have good answers to those questions. They see that high APR and they forget that an LP position is not just yield, it's also asset exposure, it's range exposure, it's also execution risk. And sometimes the APR is the bait that gets people to ignore managing their actual position. So let's talk about that trap. Most people say, what is APR? Look, operators are going to say, what am I being paid to take that risk? That is a completely different question. A high APR on a bad pair can still wreck you. A clean pair with a lower APR can sometimes be a much better position, just like a narrow range versus a wide range. So when I look at Snuggle, I'm not just asking, hey, can I earn this yield? I'm asking myself, do I understand my assets? Do I understand the range? Do I understand what happens when price moves? And do I understand rebalancing logic? Do I understand the protocol risks? Or would I be okay holding either side of that pair? That last question is huge. If you would be panic holding one of the two assets, you shouldn't be holding that LP pair. Comment below if you learned the lesson the hard way, because I definitely have. And that's part of the reason why I joined Crypto Labs Research, the Underdog Investment Group, 2 years ago. No, wait, maybe closer to 3. And if you're interested in joining, there is a link in my description and it helps support the channel. But let's get back to what we were talking about. When zero swap rebalancing, you're managing your LP by not swapping tokens, but moving your liquidity to a different price point. In many LP management strategies, when a position goes out of range, the manager may need to actually swap tokens to rebalance the position. That sounds normal, but it does create problems. And this is something that LP providers and yield farmers know well and all too much, if they're any good at it. You may pay swap fees and you may deal with slippage, which can ruin your principal. And at the same time, you can get exposed to MEV attacks on the back end, and you could buy at the back part of the asset after the asset already moved. Sometimes you can even lock in bad execution without even realizing it. That is something that occurred in our DeFi AI agent managed vault on Crystal. And sometimes you've learned a method that helps you keep more of your hard earned money. And that is where I see Snuggle's different approach. Look, instead of focusing on token swaps during a rebalance, Snuggle can burn and remint the liquidity near a new price range without executing a normal swap. It means that you're not going to be avoiding all the impermanent loss, but you can avoid some of that pain that comes from a forced rebalance. And what it's doing is it rebalances the position just slightly out of range, unless you're doing a 50-50, and that's a whole nother story. And this means that you can effectively eliminate almost 50% of most impermanent loss that you're going to. So let me be very clear. This protocol does not eliminate impermanent loss. It does not guarantee profit or high APR. It does not even mean that your position is going to work, but it's a design choice aimed at making managing liquidity pools so much easier for you. And that's why I am testing it. I use Snuggle rebalancing all the time. I spend a lot of time managing positions. If I can do it through this protocol and it's doing it for me, even performing the rebalance while I'm sleeping, that's awesome. And part of the reason I personally like this idea is I think it's how DeFi should be used. I spoke with the developer myself, and it seems that he originally invented this protocol because he used Snuggle rebalancing all the time. In fact, I remember him speaking about it as a teacher within the UIG a while back. And look, that means he has systems, he has rules, and less emotional clicking. And that is what I want because it's something that occasionally I struggle with. I want fewer moments where I'm staring at my LP positions and thinking, am I managing this or is the LP managing me? If you ever had a LP go out of range while you're busy, you know exactly what I mean. Or the wife yelling, "Why are you looking at your phone again?" Or "Why are you on your computer again?" Trust me, I know the pain. But see, the thing is that LP and concentrated liquidity can be very powerful, but if you're running especially narrow ranges, it can be extremely needy and need a lot of your time. It wants that attention, it wants your decisions, it wants that range management. And look, Snuggle is trying to reduce a lot of that workload, allowing me to be a better father, a better husband, and just have more time to do the things that I want. And that truly matters to me. I'm not trying to be the guy that says, hey, I just farmed 900% APR. I'll figure out the rest later. That's not what we do here. That's not how I teach. At Dad's DeFi space, you should know if you've been here and enjoying our content and learning from us, our goal is process over prediction, risk before size, tools before the hype. And Snuggle is fitting into that conversation because I think it can help make LP management more practical for many of the normal DeFi users out there. But remember, practical doesn't mean safe, and it easy does not. Now let's talk about my actual test position. I opened up a small $100 USDC Coinbase Bitcoin LP using Snuggle. This is a screenshot of what it looked like a couple days ago. I was earning around 112% APR. With a 4.2% range. Now, this is a very narrow range. It wouldn't surprise me if we're out of range today. It is rebalanced a couple times already, and we're going to take a look at it live in just a minute. Now, before we begin, the key word here is small. I'm not trying to prove anything with size, not yet. I'm trying to learn and understand the product, and I want to see how the dashboard works, how the fees accrue. I want to see how the position in my strategy behaves. And I want to see what happens if price moves hard. How bad is the impermanent loss? Does it mitigate as much as it says it does? So far, the results are looking pretty good, and it is mitigating a ton of impermanent loss. Now, I do want to see how the Auto-Snuggle and compounding features actually perform over time. And most of these positions are either less than a week old, or and this one's actually only days old. But this is important because so far it's proving that zero swap rebalancing is performing extremely well. We have to run the positions for time to see how they perform over the long term. But I have tons of faith that this is going to be excellent at helping dads like me with little time manage these positions. And throwing in a little teacher voice, that's how I think we all should approach DeFi. Test first, learn it, scale later. But look, most people do it backwards. They size it first, panic second, sell at a loss, and learn last after the market gave them the smackdown. That's an expensive order of operations, to be quite honest. So before we go any deeper into the risk, look at my live position. I want you to understand that this is a very practical DeFi breakdown. And if it helps you, please hit that like and subscribe button and join us over at dadsdefispace.org. I'm not here to sell you fantasy yield like a bunch of the bros out there, but I am here to document real DeFi trades, or excuse me, real DeFi tools, explain the risk, show you how I'm thinking through these opportunities as an operator. And if you want more real-time updates on what I'm testing, how I'm trading, my positions, my portfolios, what I'm watching, and how I'm positioned, join the free Telegram group, link in the description. And that is where I truly share my day-to-day thoughts on the market. You can ask me questions if you'd like. So those of you that have stuck around long enough, let's take a look at my test position on SnuggleFi. This test position is around $102. And right now it's earning 62.5%. I've seen this fluctuate on low volume days anywhere from 30 to 70%. And on high volume days, we're averaging between 60 and 130%. Now, this is calculated into about 62.5% right now, which is 18 cents a day on $102. And we've earned around 73 cents so far. There have been two rebalances, the last one occurring, about 12 hours ago. It has rebalanced and we're waiting for it to fall back into range. So we're just going to let it stand for now. So we are not earning any fees with the position out of range on the USDC Coinbase Bitcoin one. But let's talk about how I would find pools within SnuggleFi. Now, if you look here, SnuggleFi has assets on Uniswap, pools on Aerodrome, and Pancake Swap. And if you're looking at Snuggle yourself, this is the checklist I would use to be researching pools. First, I look at the pair, like Coinbase Bitcoin USDC or Wrapped ETH USDC. Do I understand those assets? Of course I do. And would I be okay in entering and having in my wallet either USDC or Bitcoin or Ethereum? The answer would be yes. I'm very bullish on both assets. So for me, a USDC Coinbase Bitcoin pair or a Wrapped ETH USDC pair, I very much understand those. It's not just some random high APR altcoin pair. Now it is uncorrelated, so I do need to be extremely aware of impermanent loss. So it doesn't make it risk free, but these are quality assets. If I wanted to go with a more correlated pool to have less impermanent loss, I would stick with something more like Wrapped ETH Coinbase. I am looking at this pool, but I haven't determined how to set my range yet or what I want it at. So that'll be one that we will look at in the future, because when the market bottoms out, I want to get into an altcoin pairs or a volatile pair to get a little bit more of that price appreciation. Next, I look at the chain or the DEX. And right here, I have good trust in Uniswap, Aerodrome, and Pancake Swap. Although I tend to do more farming or liquidity providing on Uniswap and Aerodrome. So I'm asking myself, is it on Base? Is it on Arbitrum? What DEX is used? Is there liquidity, trading activity, etc.? I use a site like DeFi Llama to do my research. Third, I'm going to look at my strategy. Is it aggressive? Is it a moderate strategy? Is it a conservative strategy? Tighter ranges, they can earn more fees when that price behaves, but they also can go out of range much, much faster. Wider ranges, look, they might be less exciting, but they can be easier to manage. Fourth, I'm going to look at the automation, right? Am I going to auto-snuggle it? Is compounding enabled? Do I understand what these settings even mean? You really need to understand how the protocol works. And then fifth, I'm going to look at the maturity. Is it battle tested? Are there audits? Are there public docs? Are the contracts verified? And we have answers for all of this over at SnuggleFi. So the thing is, in DeFi, your first deposit should be a test position. You always want to have a learning deposit, not a, what are we going to call it? An ego deposit, and put in half your portfolio. Now, I want it to pivot a little bit. We have talked so much about how to use it. We've talked about security risk. We've talked about its usage and value case. What we'll need to look at next, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I met the dev within the Underdog Investment Group. The developer behind SnuggleFi is Alex Yabonk's Walsh. And some people, if you're part of the UIG, the Underdog Investment Group, he was involved there as an educator and now as an engineer. He also created DeFi Buddy for that community, and it's reportedly growing all the way to 6,000 users. We use DeFi Buddy to keep up with some of our LP positions ourselves. That matters a lot to me because this doesn't feel like some random anonymous protocol slapped together to chase some trend and to rug pull all of us. From what he has shared to me and what I've seen with the protocol, it started out as a personal project to manage his own LPs, and I like that. Means he's taking risks too. Some of the best tools in this space have come from builders solving their own problems first. So the problem here is simple. LP management, annoying. Range management, annoying. And we can lose capital. So most users, either they do it poorly, they do it emotionally, or they just stop doing it altogether, go to full range. You can take that route. There's nothing wrong with that, although you don't earn as much yield. Yabonk's tool, Snuggle, feels like it was built around that pain point. Again, it doesn't make it automatically safe, but it performs a task that saves me so much time. And you know what? It's built by someone who they are, and it creates more trust. And that builder context truly matters. I'd rather study a tool built from a real DeFi experience than some random AI yield vault promising easy returns, no clear mechanics. Just watching process over prediction. Peace.